What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Dave Savage coming to you live for the next, I don't know, half day. I'll be in Portland, Oregon, and then I'm going down to Southern California. And I am excited to be interviewing Pinky Shah for, I think, the third time that we've done a YouTube interview, right?
Sounds right.
Right on, Pinky.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you. I appreciate how active you are in the mortgage coach community. I know you make posts, you make comments, and every time I talk to you, you're telling me what you took away from something that is on our YouTube channel. So it's people like you that make the industry better and make the change we're trying to make.
Love it. Yeah, well, you do an amazing service for us, and happy to be able to leverage all your hard work.
Good. Well, it's the whole mortgage coach village. Scriptapalooza yesterday. I was the guy on stage, and I, call it architected the experience. I mean, the Win by Noon team and Todd did so much.
Yes.
The mortgage coach marketing team, put great emails out and helped with some cool social posts. So it takes a village.
It does, yeah. And I know we're talking about, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I know we're talking about the Realtor one-to-many, but in the spirit of what you're talking about, I just want to say how amazing the community is and how much it's done for me and my business, because it's little, Scriptapalooza, I told you I didn't get through all of it, but it was just so much wonderful content. And from the little bit that I was able to stay on for the 2 hours that I had time blocked, and then I went into meetings right after, and I was immediately putting some of those scripts into action, and I could feel the difference, right? So it was really just powerful content that comes out, and every time I pick up just one little tweak, and that can help me have a better conversation, greater conversion, more confidence, all those things. So I really, really value it.
Well, I'd love to know what was your either big takeaway or something that you've put into action.
So I'll tell you what I put into action right away was, and forgive me to the speakers if I don't remember who said what, right? But somebody talked about I think it was Dan talked about the two questions that they ask all buyers is, why are you buying in today's market? And what is your biggest fear? So I was asking similar questions, but not those direct in that way. So I was like, let me try that language to see if it gives me a different answer or gives me a little more content. So I did that in a couple of meetings I had right away, right after I had buyer pre-purchase consultations, right? And then I'm going to go back and listen to Brian, who talked about how he walks through his pre-purchase consultation. There was, the little verbiage that he had, I thought was just pure gold. So I definitely need to go back and watch that and redo that.
Yeah, I know it was
my meeting.
It was pure gold. I mean, there was no, there were every speaker had a couple highlights, but it was hard to I couldn't figure out who won. Usually I do these, Scriptapalooza, Modern Mortgage Summit, and I usually am like, wow, that person's going to get the most reviews, or
right.
They're going to get the most votes. And I actually don't know who, when we do the survey, who is going to get the highest ratings, because I thought everybody killed it.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to vote. That's a tough one. They were all great. The other thing I pulled out and that I used right away is someone spoke about I think it was Shayla, my 4 jobs as a realtor, as a lender. It's not just to pre-approve. So I had a realtor meeting, and it was a one-on-one Zoom, and he was talking about, he was a white guard guy, said I called him for my listing appointment, or my buyer put a listing in. So I called him. That's how I met him. He said he'd heard of me through the association. So I said, let's do a Zoom. He said, yes, we had that. And then he ended with, well, I have my white guard guy who's always going to get my first. He's always going to be my first. And I said, okay, tell me what he's doing for you. Is he calling people like this? Is he doing these things too? And he said, well, only if I ask him to. And I said, well, let me know, let you know my job, the way I view it is. And I went into those 4 things, by the way. So I was like, let me try this out right now.
Pinky,
so, yeah.
Little fist bump. So that's actually a great segue into the headline, Pinky Shah's Realtor or one-to-many Realtor meeting. There's 2 themes I have for this month that I'm focusing on a lot, which is how a mortgage coach can recruit more realtors and get more realtor referrals, which this is going to fit into that theme. Although you already checked part of it off, because I feel as though the community that we built, the YouTube channel, the Facebook, the fact that we really are a sales, a strategic selling solution, I feel like loan officers need to get trained up on selling. Everybody's rusty. And so I'm going to be doing more interviews where how to do a great sales meeting using the mortgage coach community in the mortgage coach tool. So you helped me. You gave some ammo to the community. It sounds like one thing everybody should do is watch Scriptapalooza. And if
Watch
there was
more than once.
yeah, and remember, guys, we're going to make taking action notes. So you do have to text Todd or I can't remember the number right now, but I'll think of it before this call's over. And to get it, we want to build that text database that we have so that we can get the gold to you guys. So the only way to get the notes is that. But one last question, and then we'll hear about your Realtor one-to-many. What if there was one other interview, one other piece of content that I've done that you've watched this year? Could have been 2 days ago, could have been 2 weeks ago, could have been 2 months ago. What would be the one mortgage coach interview that you think people should watch right now and make it a homework assignment this weekend?
It's a really tough one. I'll tell you the most recent one that I watched that I got a lot of value out of was Ryan Grant's challenging market conversation.
Yeah. Good.
Just because it's easy to be down in this market, and our realtors are down in this market. So they're feeling discouraged. So I found that it was a good pick me up. And again, what I did again with that content was I took that, I listened to it for myself. I re-listened to parts of it, and I had a realtor class this morning, and I used parts of that in my presentation.
Oh, Pinky.
So I would say that was really good for us and for, uplifting the community.
Beautiful. So if you want to be in my mobile club, it is 949-799-0837. I'll put that down below in show notes. But, one, that's how you get the show notes to any event that I'm doing. And then two, I'm going to try to make more micro content. And so if you want to get like, oh, here's what I think is the gold, sign up for that mobile club. And you're not going to get a text from me every day, but, sometimes I'll go a week without it. And sometimes you'll get 3 in a week. So sign up if you want to check it out. So Pinky, tell us, what is your one-to-many realtor meeting, and how did you come up with it? Like, what's your why around it? And then what is it?
Sure. So, we're spending a lot of time. I was spending a lot of time meeting one agent, having a conversation with them, either in person. I've been doing a lot of Zoom, which is a good time saver. But my whole goal is to have more consistent, I call them A partners, right? People that we're closing 6 or more a year with. I have a lot of what I call onesie twosie agents, where we're doing business, but not consistently. So then it ends up being more work for the team, right? To have to manage a lot of different agents. So my goal this year is really to focus on having more consistent partners that are doing the business and the high level. So I have to go out and meet a lot more people to do so, or have the conversation with the existing ones and make sure they're understanding it. So I've been doing that. And so my why as to why I started doing that was I was doing a lot of one-on-ones. I was like half hour meeting, going back, calling listing agents, and everything. Thankfully, they're all warm touches, right? And I'm just trying to rekindle a relationship or take it to the next level. So it started with that, and I found that my calendar was just booked all the time because I was doing all these one-to-ones, and they were at least a half hour, 40 minutes, and they were going really long. And then it was like, oh, well, let me tell you. And it was all mostly the exploratory where I was learning about them, and they didn't learn anything about me because I was focused on, on that part of it. But I realized that wasn't helping with the conversion, right?
Right.
So yes, I was gaining likability, and that was great. But, in today's market, likability, what I've learned is just not enough, right? They need to understand beyond likability, why me? Like, why am I different? Why should they work with me? And because I spent that whole conversation on them, I didn't get to the why me. So then I started doing a follow-up meeting of saying, hey, I'm glad that you like me, and that you want to refer me. Let me walk you through the client experience that your clients will have when you work with us, so that you know what to expect for yourself and for your clients. And in my mind, so that you can make a stronger referral, right?
Right.
And not just, here's Pinky, here's a list, and she's going to have great rates. Any of those things that we don't want to hear or as a referral, right? So that's how it started out. And so I was doing that as a follow-up meeting. And then again, my calendar was I was investing so much time in them. So then I started saying, let me bulk them together. So my process now is, if I meet somebody, this morning I taught a class, I told you, and there was it's probably like 8 or 9 new agents that I'd never met before. So I would, or that haven't referred me yet. So I invited them to this client experience walkthrough all together. So now I've been doing these all year. I started this at the beginning of this year, and I'm doing them at this point every other week. So
Okay.
every other week I'm doing a 30-minute Zoom. So I'm doing it on Zoom too, so it doesn't matter where they are. And what we're doing is I'm literally walking them through. Here's an introduction to my team. Here's an introduction to the process that your clients will have when you work with us. And then I show them, part of it, by the way, is we do this total cost analysis for your clients, right? So that's part of how that conversation goes. And so doing it together, what I found is that having, I think the least I've had is 6 on a call. So the benefit of having them all together is it's great. I start out, hey, you've all expressed an interest in working with us, right? Or maybe you've worked with us, but you weren't fully leveraging all the things that we do for your clients. Because I have some people come on like that. And so now they're all seeing that if I have an agent that's already worked with you, they'll typically jump in and say, oh, we love it when Pinky does this, or, you guys really, you've got the best here, whatever. So they'll jump in and offer some nice words about us, which is helpful for the people that haven't worked with us already.
So how are you framing when you do the mortgage coach client experience? How are you framing that for the agents? Like, what do you
The agent?
Yeah, like when you're doing this agent meeting and you're gonna do the mortgage coach part of it, how do you frame that?
So I tell them that we do a pre-purchase consultation for their clients, right? So we're not just going to pre-approve them and give them a letter and send them out to you and hope that they can figure out what to do with this. We are going to educate them. It will save you time, so you're not having to have the conversation. And by the way, another plug for Mortgage Coach, because Shayla Gifford did something where she talked about the pre-approval process last year. I think it was part of the Modern Mortgage Summit, or I'm not sure where it was.
Well, it was part of the Modern Mortgage Summit, but that particular interview is also in our YouTube channel, guys.
Yep.
It is pure gold for anyone
So,
and everyone.
Yep. So I've taken some of the language that she used and how she explained that, and I talk about that. And so I tell them that this is going to help distinguish you, because now you're not going to have these conversations with the client. We're going to do that. We're going to be an advocate for you. And one of the key things that we do for you in this meeting is we're going to explain all the numbers to you. We do an analysis and a pre-purchase planning for them. So I do a certified mortgage plan is what I call it, for your clients to help them understand how to navigate it. And then I would show them a screen of it.
Cool. So community, I think this is a super important strategy. You're seeing a lot of mortgage coaches that are, using the fact that they are giving advice. They're not playing checkers like, oh, they're pre-qualified and they qualify for this much. Like, guys, that does not help realtors in this market. So I want to know how you frame it. I'm going to tell you how I would frame it. And it would vary depending on who the agent group was and, listing agents, buyer agents, top producers, new producers, vary by market. But let's take the assumption it's a market where very few, really good houses are selling at asking price. Let's just assume that it's a market where, one, when you see the house, you got to make an offer, and two, you got to pay over asking price to be in the game, and three, where there's just a lot of competition out there. So I would first, before you talked about the borrower conversation, I would tell a problem that's relevant to your market. Like, hey guys, everybody, what I'm hearing from all my agents is blank and blank. So you framed it. And then when you tell mortgage coach, you tell a story, I would tell it around a story. Well, let me tell you a story where blank agent, and if you can name drop an agent that's valuable for the audience, they're like, well, such and such gave me this loan, and the borrower, qualified for this, but they wanted this, and they weren't willing to make the offer that would win. And let me show you how I do that. And then it's not about the technology. I mean, if you want to say mortgage coach, we like that. And we are trying to change the industry. So I use this platform called Mortgage Coach, and we give people this total cost analysis. But guys, make up your own names if you want, but frame it and then tell a story. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. I would love to get some, how are you framing it? Like, what's the problem that you state? And then also, what's the most teachable TCA that you're doing? So that's my last question for you before we wrap this. What is the most teachable TCA that you're using with realtors right now?
There's two that are close ties, the appraisal gap and the where rates were the cost of, kind of like a cost of waiting, but what's happened in the industry. Those are the two that I'm using the most.
Did you by any chance see the interview I did with Gracie Morrow called the All-in-One Pre-Approval Experience?
I did see that one.
What did you think?
Yeah, and she put them all into one massive, amazing TCA. Yeah, she had rent versus own, cost of waiting in there. I think she had it all in one.
Wasn't that pretty rad?
That was.
Yeah, so I think cost of waiting is a great teachable, because here's the deal, guys. It's a great time to recruit realtors. They're in pain. Their job is hard. They don't need another lender. They need a mortgage coach, someone that can get someone to pay the price they need to win in this competitive market. So let's wrap it up. Anything else you want to share? Any takeaways you want to share with the mortgage coach audience before we close it?
I think the one thing I would share is the technology itself is simply dynamite, right? And it really helps the borrowers have a greater experience. I mean, I just got off a pre-approval or pre-purchase consultation right before this one, and the client said you laid everything out in an easy to understand manner, is what he had to say to me right after we had that. So it really helps with that part of it, but there's a lot you can do with it that you don't get just playing around with it yourself. And it wasn't until I started watching the videos in the community that I really learned so many different ways to navigate it and come up with it and get creative myself with it, because I saw that it wasn't just the basic. Initially, I just did price point analysis, and that's the main thing that I did, or like different programs. And then I learned all these other tricks by watching the community. So I would say leverage the community to become more of an expert in using the software to be a more elevated loan officer that's really offering great advice.
I love that, Pinky. If you could forward me a sample of one of your most teachable realtor TCAs, we'll put it down below. Absolutely. Also, my homework assignment for everyone is watch this interview I did just a couple days ago with Chantry Abbott. So he's a top performing, team leader of a team, and I think he has like 7 loan officers in his branch, and he believes that like we need sales training right now. Like we all need to upgrade our game. And so I did this interview, and he described how he's doing this 15 to 30 minute weekly, actually it was 30 to 45 minute weekly sales training. And of course I liked it because he's using the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. He's using the Facebook group. I think there are a lot of, I know there's a lot of coaches and managers doing that. So if there is an interview you want me to do, so that, think of Mortgage Coach Real World, YouTube, Facebook as a resource for you to help your loan officers win in today's market. And so check out that interview. I'll put a link down below. Pinky, you are a gift to this community. I'm looking forward to seeing you at Renee Rodriguez's Amplify next week.
Look forward to it. Yes.
It's not too late, guys. If you haven't signed up for Amplify, go to the Mortgage Coach calendar on our website. There's a link to it. And I think, go to meetrenee.com. I'll be in Vegas. A lot of mortgage coaches will be in Vegas, and I'll see you next week, Pinky.
All right. See you. Thank you.
All right, guys. Now, also remember, everybody, sign up. If you don't subscribe to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, subscribe today, and we'll see you in the real world, hopefully. Take care, everybody.